They just flagged down this rider here. Unfortunately, no helmet, no shoes. Looks like there is a plate at least. Oh, actually, you can't do anything with that. 130307, you would never be able to trace that back to any vehicle. So, good morning, everyone. We are back on the road with the Special Action Intelligence Committee for Transportation under DOTr. And you'll see they're actually writing out a ticket over there for loading, unloading, or the equivalent of. The thing is, look, PTEX is just there. So close, but not quite. They are trying to enforce strict terminals, strict loading, unloading areas to try and bring some order to the road. I'm sure you felt the frustration when you're stuck in traffic and you look ahead and you see it's just jeeps and buses and tricycles blocking the road with illegal loading, unloading, or illegal terminals. And when you've got that happening all across Metro Manila, you start to feel the effects pretty quickly. Quite a few times this morning I've seen buses stuck behind very slow-moving e-trikes. Well, that's all going to change very soon. You may have seen the news that LTO, MMDA and the LGUs are going to try and come up with a plan. The problem that they have right now in forces is that, let's say they flag down an e-trike. He will say, I don't have a license, I don't have a registration, because LTO said I don't need one for certain classifications. So what do they put on the ticket? And then you might say, okay, well, just impound it. Well, how can you impound it? For driving without license? LTO already said you don't need a license. So that's why it makes sense that they're trying to come up with a plan now. And in fact, they're trying to flag down that motorcycle, but it seems a little bit hesitant. I can see there's a child on the back with no helmet. Mommy and Daddy both have a helmet, but the excess passenger, a small child, doesn't have one. They're flagging down this van now as a suspected Colorum vehicle. You will notice the logo on the windscreen. It doesn't necessarily mean he has any association with that agency, because a lot of people put stickers for PMP, MBI, MMDA, Supreme Court. For what reason, I'm not sure. They spoke to the driver, and according to him, the driver doesn't own the vehicle, he's just a driver. And he's taking all of these people to, but he's not charging them any money, he's just doing it for free. Now, I know at the very least they're going to issue a ticket for the unauthorized improvised plate on the back, because allegedly he doesn't have any authority for that from LTO. But it's down to the enforcers to determine whether or not it's Colorum and should be impounded. Look at that counterflow, no helmet. They're trying to flag him down. Whether he's going to stop, I'm not sure. Diyan lang ako. Oh my goodness, it's been a long time since we've seen Dilag. Anyway, for this one, that's substandard or unauthorized helmet, plus no helmet on the back, plus driving in slippers. So he's really gone for the full combo. Oh, and counterflow, of course. This e-trike was counterflowing and then he stopped when he saw the enforcers. I guess he's trying to decide whether or not he's still going to continue. They're definitely going to face a lot of resistance with the new rules coming in. Because remember, e-trikes became a multi-million peso business. A lot of people are getting rich from Colorum e-trike operations. Of course, it does have an impact on franchised public transport like the regular tricycles, jeeps, taxis, buses. In fact, in some areas, I don't want to name the city, but in some areas, the e-trike operators have actually bullied and scared the jeepneys away from some of their routes so that only the e-trikes can operate. So expect some pretty big resistance. They just flagged down this rider here. Unfortunately, no helmet, no shoes. Looks like there is a plate at least. Oh, actually, you can't do anything with that. 130307, you would never be able to trace that back to any vehicle. So you might remember in one of my previous videos where a guy was sitting in the impound because he'd been caught for Colorum. And he said he's been caught many times already, impounded many times, but he still does it because he's earning so much money. He said he was able to buy a Jeep, he was able to buy some tricycles, he's able to live a good life. So Colorum vans really pays big, but of course it's illegal. And if you're a passenger and something goes wrong, there's no insurance for you. If you get overcharged, there's no one you can complain to. And just look at how many complaints there are every week from people who got hit by a Colorum van and then he ran away. And they managed to catch up and find out that it's Colorum. And a lot of the time, what happens is they show their license, they show their registration, they sign a document saying they're going to pay for the damages, and then later they find out that what he showed was fake. So they lost out, right? They have to pay for their own damages. Oh my goodness, he looks a little bit young. Obviously no helmet, no shoes. Here comes another motorcycle counterflowing now. He also has a child sitting on the front, which is actually prohibited under the Children's Safety on Motorcycle Act, but, well, pretty much never enforced, to be honest. Also driving in slippers, but the counterflow is definitely more dangerous. So far the driver has been unable to show a valid registration. Also, he really drew attention to himself by counterflowing. If he was going the regular way, it probably wouldn't have been noticed. This bus was seen loading, unloading on the road outside of PTEX, and actually when they told him to pull to the side, he started honking. Maybe it's a misunderstanding, I don't want to jump to conclusions, but he did pull to the side now, and I assume they're going to issue a ticket. It's a heavy penalty. It's either 5,000 or 6,000 pesos for pick up and drop off outside of a terminal. The idea is to really instill discipline, because when you've got buses, jeeps, taxis, tricycles, all stopping wherever they want, every 100 feet, you can imagine the kind of traffic that it causes. I heard the conductor say something like, "We know it's prohibited, but we're just trying to help out the passenger." And that reminds me of a comment I saw recently where the guy basically said, instead of focusing on the driver, you should focus on the passengers. But here's the thing, if the driver doesn't pull to the side and open the door, nobody can get on or off the bus. He's in control of that. And realistically, it's easier to manage a few hundred or even 1,000 bus drivers, professional license holders, than it is to try and manage hundreds of thousands or even millions of commuters. Now, I've seen them over and over again try and guide passengers, tell them where to go. But at the end of the day, if drivers keep picking them up, they're going to keep trying to load in the wrong place, whatever's convenient for them. There was a bus in the background that just loaded, unloaded, a yellow one. I think the enforcer's going to try and grab it when it comes past. He went all the way from the outside lane to the inside lane, so it's made it a little bit more challenging for them. The nice thing is that the driver handed over his license immediately, no argument. They just flagged down this motorcycle now with a small child on the back. Obviously the helmet's far too big, but the other thing is his feet cannot reach the foot pegs, and that's why he was kind of rocking side to side. It looked like he was going to fall off, but he was holding onto the dad really tight. Definitely a dangerous situation. I mean, that's one of the things specifically covered by the Children's Safety on Motorcycle Act, that the feet should reach the foot pegs, that the arms can go around the waist, that they're wearing an appropriate helmet. It's not to give the rider a hard time, it's really for the protection of the child. When the team arrived here, this UV Express was loading, unloading. As mentioned in the previous video, they are meant to be point to point, and there are huge signs here saying no loading, unloading. And I already know that some people are going to say, well, why don't you put an enforcer there and wave away anyone that tries to load, unload? I saw them doing that during the previous operation. And do you know what happened? Once they got past the enforcers, that's the time they did the loading, unloading. So unless you can spread enforcers out every 100 meters, 200 meters, waving people away or just giving warnings doesn't really work. But if you start issuing tickets and people see that you're consistent in issuing tickets, that's the time you can actually see a difference on the road. The condition of this plate is terrible. I think from a distance you're definitely not going to read that. It looks basically black. There's one of the electric modernized Jeeps. It's actually really nice inside. Maybe I'll find some old footage of that to show you, because I did an interview there before. And now you can see a lot of them going around different places. The Comet, really cool vehicle.
Hi there, I'm Kyle Tinga, the Sustainable Transport Specialist for Get Philippines. This vehicle is the Comet, which stands for the Community Optimized Managed Electric Transport. It's a e-jeepney, although we prefer to call it an electric minibus, designed specifically for public transport. We think that it's not only up to Philippine standard, but also international standard, because it's using technology from all across the world, but with a lot of Filipino love and a Filipino heart.